Welcome, foolish mortals.
Hello, and welcome to my paranormal vlogs. I'm Magical Maiden, and today I have a few stories to tell you. Now, typically I put this up around the fall time, but you still see I have my summer background, not my spooky haunted house background. Unfortunately, I like to make it spooky, but I did light some candles, and I do have my incense burning. And I haven't made one. And I haven't made one in quite a while. And I know people have been waiting for mud fossil videos. So I may or may not get to that. I don't know when I'm going to get to that, but it's in progress. So what I wanted to do is tell you, normally, like I said, I don't put anything up till like around September, October. And I was going to do this with my sister, but our schedules and getting her over here, and she feels funny on video. She freezes up and doesn't talk. So even though it's not live, and I just don't feel like waiting for her to feel comfortable enough, which probably would be never. So I figured I would go ahead and do this now. The reason why I'm doing one before the time is because I usually do some here and there if something paranormal happened. And with me, there's always something paranormal happening. But it was something enough to talk about. So I'm trying to talk loud. I don't talk loud because when I do, my voice cracks. So what happened was, so what I'm going to tell you is about something that happened about a week and a half ago. Now, my sister just bought the house next door and moved in March. And she's from up north, I'm from up north. So when this house came up for sale, I told her about it. It was a great price. And you're never going to find anything like that up north. So I told her, come on down south. And they looked into it, they wanted it, they got it, and now they live there. Anyway, so they're still currently doing some work. And my husband went over there to lend in his tools. And what happened was, so we were over there, and my husband was standing with her husband on the left side of the house. And me and my sister were on two lounge chairs that were on the right side of the house. If you're looking at the house, it's the right. Now, if you're sitting at the house, it'd be the left. But anyway, next to me is the woods. Then it's my house. Then it's my sister's. We have little bushes here. But anyway, we were on the lounge chairs next to my house on that side, and then my husband and her husband were on the other side talking about some bushes they were going to cut down and stuff. And they were talking low, so we couldn't hear them. Now, inside her house is her two cats that stay in the one room, and they were sleeping, and her dog. She has a Westie, and he likes to bark a lot. He's a little Westie dog, if you know what those dogs are, and they bark, and they're annoying, and the bark is loud, and he's always barking. So she had, now, if you live down south, it's been pretty hot here. Most of the people around here have central air, so everybody has their windows closed, okay? This is part of the story why I'm telling you. Everybody's windows closed. Not everybody's hanging outside. It's too hot. They come home, they go in the house. You don't hear anything. And not many people have pools around here, like a couple of maybe down the road, but right around here they don't, and it's usually very quiet, and they usually are in the house with the windows closed and their air conditioning units on, and that's that, because it's hot. Not until the cooler weather. So now my sister has her central air on, but she doesn't keep it cranked up when they're outside. So she does like to have a window open. Now she has to get screens for all the other, windows. She only has a screen going on in the kitchen window. And the kitchen window was right by us, okay? So we're by the lounge chairs next to my house on her property with the kitchen window just like where the palm tree would be, okay? And my husband and her husband and my husband were on the other side, and you couldn't even hear them talk, okay? So now what happens, me and my sister were sitting on the lounge chair, and it was hot, and I was about to go, but we were just, chatting about this, that, and the other thing. When her dog was bark, 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 because Westy's a very needy, her dog is very needy. He doesn't like it when they're outside. He wants to be there, but then he'll just bark because she wants her to hold him, and she can't all the time. So anyway, we were sitting there, and we were chatting, and our dog was barking, and all of a sudden we hear enough coming from inside our house, from the kitchen window that was like right where like the palm tree would be. And it was a man's voice, sounded young, but it was a man's voice, male. It was a male voice, and you can it was like they had enough of the barking. They just said, enough. And it didn't come from anybody else because, like I said, what neighbors were home, they were in the house, and the windows were shut because it was a hot day and they weren't going to go outside. Nobody was outside in that area. And if they were inside, you wouldn't be able to hear them, and they wouldn't be able to hear the dogs, so nobody would be yelling. So that's why I told you that. And it definitely came from inside the house. There was no mistaking that, okay? So you hear this, enough. And just then me and my sister looked at each other. Did you hear that? We both said that. And I'm like, yeah, that sounded like a male voice. Now, I'm clairvoyant and clairaudient, so I can hear things because I have clairaudience. So does my sister. Runs in the family, but hers isn't as strong as mine. She gets to see things where she sees things more, where I hear them more. She hears them a little bit. Her clairaudience isn't as strong as mine. It's her visual she can see. And me, I have some visual that I can see them, but it's my clairaudience that's stronger than that. So she heard it at the same time as I heard it. And we're like, you heard that? I'm like, that sounded like a man's voice coming from in the house. It was a male voice. So she's like, yeah, I know. And just when you hear enough, and the dog was barking, the dog stopped for a few seconds only because, that dog barks. And he was like, and then all of a sudden he started barking again. And then you hear, stop it, the same male voice. Not as loud as he yelled, enough, but it's thundering. Isn't that appropriate? It's about to rain soon. But it was still, stop it. And then me and my sister looked at each other again, like, oh, you heard that? That's again. And it was definitely coming from the window behind us, or kind of like diagonal, like right where the palm tree would be, okay? Because we were like, let's say this is me on the lounge chair, and my sister was right here, and then the window is right there. And I was closest to the window. And the dog was in the window next to it, which was lower, because the kitchen window is higher. That one's next to the dining room, and he was barking with a closed window, but the other window was open, so you heard him loud enough. So anyway, we hear, stop it. And then you hear a woman's voice, and then the other original guy, and then another guy's voice. So there's three, two male and one female, and then you hear them talking. I'm like, I turn to my sister, I go, there's more than one. It sounds like there's like three in there. She goes, maybe I left the TV on? I don't know. And then she goes, maybe her husband left the TV on. I go, we better go inside because you kept hearing talking. So, and it wasn't my husband and her husband because you can't even hear them. And they didn't, they were just like looking at branches and stuff at this point. So we went inside, and she turns to me and says, the TV isn't on. I go, how about the other two TVs? None of the other TVs were on. And I go, and I'm like, it came from in here. And she's like, yes, it did. So she was freaked out. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll come over and I'll record and I'll ask questions. So the next day I came over with my equipment and I sat there. Well, actually, that day, jumping ahead. So actually, that day, I'm like, well, until I can come over with my equipment tomorrow, my equipment consists of an old laptop. Now, if you haven't seen my other videos on my paranormal vlogs, which you should, I talk about how I get voices. Now, I can hear them anyway because I'm clairaudient, and I also get messages telepathic, but sometimes I like to record them because sometimes they're blocked. I can't hear them unless I record them, but sometimes I can altogether. But I like to, but I like to also record them for proof and to go over them, you know, especially for other people. I don't know if you're hearing those thunders. I guess it goes good. Can you hear them? The sun's out though, but it's cloudy. That's what you do living in the South in the summer. So anyway, so what happened was my sister had her cell phone. So I said, hit the record. Now she's not tech savvy, so instead, she hits the video. I'm like, no, you should have a recording device on your phone. I just need the record. But she ends up opening the video. I'm like, that's fine. I'll use video. Maybe I'll catch somebody. So I said, but it has to be quiet. But just then, unfortunately, my husband and her husband walk over there, and they're standing on the side where me and my sister were sitting outside previous, and they're right by the open window and you can hear their voices, and I'm like, I can't, it'll taint the recording because all I'm going to get is their voices. Started asking questions, they started talking. So I said, I'm just going to go, could you shut that window, and I'm going to go on the other side. So I walked around and then I asked, I go, hello, is there anyone there? And I caught a few different, and they're like, yes, and they're like, hello. And they said a few different things, which I'm going to put some in here. So don't go anywhere. Don't tune out, because towards the end of this video, I'm going to put all my recordings in here. What I do is they're clips. What I do is I put it in Audacity. I clean it up. I don't alter the words or do anything. I simply just clip a section where you can make it out. I try to pick out the loudest and the best for you to hear, and I make it louder and I clean it up, get all the noise out, and make it as loud as possible for you. So if you're going to listen to it, I suggest if you have headphones or earbuds to put them on and put it as loud as your ears can stand it so that you can hear it as well. Okay? Now, sometimes you can't hear it, you can't make it out, but if you're not wearing your earbuds or headphones, you're not going to hear it that good. So I encourage you to do that, or you know, you're not going to hear it that well. Anyway, I will put them in towards the end of this video, so be sure that you stick around. Okay, so I recorded a few things, they said a few things. I went home and cleaned it all up. I let her listen. I sent her the MP3s because you could save them into an MP3, and I saved it for her and I sent it to her, and she was like, oh no. So I brought some sage over, but she wants me to do it. And I said, well, I don't think they're bad. I just think, you know, can drive someone insane. It drives me crazy hearing that barking. And sometimes I'm like, I gotta go, you know. So why not other people in other dimensions? So right now the veil is very thin. Okay, extremely thin. And like I told you in many other of my paranormal vlogs, and again, if you haven't seen them, please go back 1 through now. The dimensions share the same space. All dimensions share the same space. So, for instance, if we're going to go to the 5th dimension, it's right here. You are the vehicle that gets you to the different dimensions, because you have to vibrate on a certain level and match that frequency of that dimension. Then you shift and you're there. Now, it's not like you're traveling and you feel like you're falling. Basically, you're just going to be there because your vibration and your frequency lifts you to that dimension. And it's the same, like I'm sitting here, but something might be different. Little things are different in that dimension, okay? So it's almost exactly the same, but little things are different. And the higher you go, everything's a lot better because it's more positive. The lower you go, it's worse. The wind's picking up out there. And before we have a power outage, which shouldn't affect this because I'll be on battery, but I wanted to finish this before it gets any worse, because I do need lighting. So what happened was, okay, now bear with me. So, I love the sound of thunder. Not my cats though. So anyway, the next day I went over there with my old laptop. Now, that's what I've told you all about previously in my other paranormal blogs that I use. An old Toshiba. It has lots of gold in it. It has lots of copper and silver. And the older laptops, older computers have a lot of gold in it. And that's why they're always like, trade your old computer in or send your old computer, because they want the gold in it. There's a lot of gold in the older ones. So I'm saving that. And it's a great conductor, and it helps to communicate better, because I can use this newer computer and it doesn't sound as good as that, and I get more and they come out clearer. That's just that one. So I wanted to tell you that that's why I use that. So I brought my computer over and I sat there. Her husband was outside doing work, because I said, now, she started doing things around the house. I'm like, look, if you want me to do this, you can't start the washing machine. You have to be quiet. You can't be slamming drawers and putting laundry away. I said, otherwise I'm leaving. She's in a habit of making noise and moving around. I'm like, it has to be quiet, because I don't want to pick up something from you, or some noise you're making is drowning them out, because sometimes they're not loud. So I go, you've got to sit still or get out of the house. So she's like, okay. So she took the dog and they went in the other room, and luckily the dog was quiet. So I asked them a bunch of questions, and I got a lot of answers. So one of them, and I will be putting it in, like I said, towards the end, is they said, I'm like, the dog was annoying you, it was barking, and you yelled at it enough, and they're like, but we're friends though. They were trying to let me know, like, they're friends, they're friendly, they're not bad. You know what I'm saying? They're not bad. They just got annoyed with the dog. Because then I was saying, sorry, but the dog barking a lot, I know that must be annoying, and I heard you say enough and stop it and stuff like that. And then they answered, and this one came out pretty clear. They said, we tried to talk to the dog, but he wouldn't shut up. That's what they said. I could sympathize. I tried talking to the dog too, and he still doesn't shut up. So, and I'm more of a cat person, because I can't stand barking. I can't stand it. If cats are meowing, the whole world isn't going to hear it, but when dogs are barking, forget about it. So now I've had dogs in the past when I was younger, but I prefer cats. Like I said, I'm more of a cat person. I like dogs, but I don't like barking. And her dog can bark. And so I told them, I'm sorry that you have to hear that. And then I asked, isn't there anywhere else you can go to get away from the barking? And then they reply that they work sometimes, sometimes they go to work, sometimes they have work to do. They work sometimes. But other than that, it's, then they're there. And I asked how long they've been there. And it wouldn't come out too clear. They say we've been here for a long time, and then 10-10, it would sound like they're saying 10-10, but I don't think it's 10-10. I don't know what it was they said. Then I got some inaudible stuff, and then there was a lot of other talking, but really it was just a lot of people talking, and I couldn't really clean it up enough to isolate. So I got the best ones that I could isolate for you, and I'll put them in here. So that's what happened. Anyway, then the next day my sister comes to me and she comes over and she's, you're not gonna believe what happened. The other day I was in my kitchen looking out the window washing dishes, and when I looked out, her car is parked right there because we both have horseshoe driveways. We call them circular driveways, but they're actually a horseshoe because in the center I have a little patch of grass with big trees, and she has just lawn and flowers. But we both have them, and they're big because around here we have big front property and big back property. So we have a big front. Mine's bigger than hers, but and so she was washing her dishes, and her car's like parked right there, and she looked out. It was like late afternoon, maybe 4, 5, 6, and the reflection on her big light that she has for her headlight, she saw a man standing there with, I asked what was he wearing, like blue jeans, a white shirt, dark hair, and a bit of a cap. And he was just sitting there smiling, standing there actually. She thinks his hands were in his pockets. I go, you sure it wasn't the reflection of things around, like your umbrella, your lounge chairs? Because she has a little area in the front where she has 2 lounge chairs and an umbrella and then a windsock hanging. I go, you sure? Because, you know, sometimes light and reflection. Because I always try to debunk things before I say, that's what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not always looking for that. So she's like, no, it was a person. It had a face. I go, did you recognize that face? She's like, I don't know. And I go, how young was he? She goes, about 30. I'm like, okay, well, next time if you see it, keep your phone nearby so you could snap a picture. Well, yesterday she came over and she told me she saw it again. But of course she didn't take a picture. I guess when you're in that moment, you're not thinking to reach him. She said she was washing dishes again. She looks at it and she saw him again, standing there like this with a smile, and he had a cap on. She says he looked like an old boyfriend that she was engaged to, like in the 70s, late 70s. So she's like, I wonder if he died. I go, well, she should find out, you know, because it was he had like a liver transplant like many years ago, but, you know, I don't know. It could have caught up with him and he could have got sick and he could have died. So we don't know. She's going to find out, but she's not sure. So I said, in the meantime, the next time you get it, make sure you have your phone with you and snap it. Snap a video or a picture, whatever, or both. So she's kind of freaked out. She's like, what's going on in my house? You know, I'm like, well, I didn't tell you to move into a haunted house, but I guarantee that any house you go to, if you take a recorder and you say, hello, is there anyone there, you're going to get an answer. Because it's not necessarily a house that's haunted. You're talking to people in other dimensions, spirits and people. I mean, it's just that. And they can, by the way, they told me they can hear and see us perfectly. It's us who have the problem because we're in the lowest dimension. Well, the lowest before you get to basically really low. But they're in a higher dimension and they can see and hear us perfectly where we can't see and hear them as well. But that's the difference. So people think you need to go to a haunted house to get a recording, or your house must be haunted, but you don't. You can get them. They talk to, sometimes I get them in my videos, and I get orbs, and they're welcome to come now if they want to say hello. I get that all the time. So I just wanted you to know that. So one more thing before I put the recordings in. The other night I was, well, it was actually kind of early morning. My cat Rudy sleeps with me all the time. And it was early in the morning and he kind of woke me up because he has to meow, meow, meow. And because he wants me to get up and feed him. But once you get up and feed, you stand there and wait for him to finish eating because he gets different food than my other cat and I can't leave the bowls out. That's why I don't leave the bowls out. I feed them what I call a good night snack before bed. And then that should fill their bellies till I get up. But unfortunately, around 5 or 6, they decide they want to eat. So I wasn't ready to get up, and I was like, let me sleep. And he was like, meow. So when you're in that between state, it's almost like when you're meditating. You know, like you're awake, but you're sleepy. So you're relaxed, but you're not sleeping. So I kept getting this male voice saying, hello, I'm Alan. Hello, I'm Alan. Now he either said I am a medium, I am a psychic medium, or I am not a psychic medium. I am not a medium. Hello, I am Alan. And then every time I was trying to get further, because he was obviously trying to contact me to communicate some message, but my cat kept going, meow, 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 and waking me up out of that. Then I'd go, shut up, Rudy, and push him away, and then I'd go drift back, but not asleep, just like relax. And I'd hear, hello, this is Alan. And he's like, I am a medium, or I am not a medium, I'm not a psychic. He was trying to tell me something, or he is a medium, and he is a psychic medium, I don't know. And then my cat, meow, meow, he's like, hello, this is Alan again. I'm trying to communicate with you. I am not a... And then my cat, meow, meow. I'm like, for God's sakes, Rudy, shut up. And then I'm like trying to relax. And then it happened again. He's like, hello, this is Alan. And he's like, I'm trying to communicate. I am not a psychic medium. I am not a channeler. I am a... And I was like, Rudy. And Rudy did it again, to the point where I couldn't keep doing it. So about 6 or 7 times that happened. So it wasn't a dream, because he was trying to pick up the communication. So I'm going to have to find time to sit down and communicate and find out who he was, what the message was. It could have been from my sister's house. But then it reminds me of a time that happened not long ago. But before I get to that, I want to finish this. So what I think with my cat Rudy is that he heard that voice, because one time he heard a voice. He's very connected to me, my cat Rudy, and overprotective of me. So I really think that he hears the same things I can hear. So where my cat Alan could give 2 craps and doesn't even notice anything. Anyway, what happened was one night, this was maybe about 2016, 2017, or 2018. Probably 17 or 18. I lived up in like by Rochester. It's almost by Buffalo, New York, but it was called Webster, New York, upstate. And I rented an apartment, and many of you know that remember my old videos. And it was a nice apartment. It wasn't a big complex, and I lived in the back, and there wasn't that many people at that time renting any of those in the back. And I had one of the best apartments that everybody wished they got, because it was like right in front of a pond, which was 7 feet away. It was a big pond, and it had the woods around, and it was quiet, and it was really nice, because like I said, it was a new complex, but it was a small complex, and back there was extremely peaceful, and it didn't have many people renting back there yet. And I loved that apartment, and it was really nice. And there was a girl living upstairs, but she went away because this was in February. So I think she had like spring break from college, and she went away for 2 weeks, and she wasn't there. So there was like nobody upstairs, and it was very quiet. I think at the time there was nobody renting the behind, because you have upstairs, behind, and next door. But there's like a whole section before you get to the next door person, so it's not like right up against my wall. And the people behind us also, there was a whole utility room before you get to them. So this was February, and we were getting a bad snowstorm. When you live close to Buffalo, New York, you're going to get a lot of snowstorms. So, but this was about 40 minutes from Buffalo. And let's see, there was a snowstorm. We had quite a bit of snow. So it was very peaceful. It was between 1 or 2 in the morning. Now my Cat Salem at that time loved his room because it faced, like, it was right in front of the pond, and he loved sitting on his cat tree, and he loved being in his room. Matter of fact, he would wake me up to come and close the door. He wanted to be closed in the room. I don't know why. So he was sound asleep. My cat Rudy always slept with me. You have to spoon him and hold him. And my husband was sleeping. Nothing was going to wake him up. And I was sleeping and I heard a voice. Now, I told this in one of my other paranormal blogs, but I'll do a short version because this is getting to be a long video. So what I said was, I was laying there and I woke up out of a sound sleep by a voice saying, now downloading. Well, so prior to this incident that happened, for a couple of months, I would be woken up by certain tones, by beeps and tones. And it wasn't coming from outside, it was coming from inside. And I looked at everything. There was no alarm clocks, there was no cell phone. I even looked for my old cell phones to see if they were on. I popped batteries out of this. I had my smoke alarms checked. I had everything checked. It wasn't coming from these things. I'm like, what is his, like, beeps and tones, different tones, okay? This was going on for months. And I'd be woken up at night with that every night. And my cat Rudy would hear it. My other cat didn't. My husband didn't. He'd be sound asleep, but it was just me. So again, this night, I hear some beeps and tones. And then I hear a voice saying, it sounded military-ish, saying, now don't downloading or uploading something program into subject, which was me. And I'm like, I heard that and I kind of woke up and I sat up because I was up. I was sleeping, but I woke up with that. I heard the beeps and tones, so I was like kind of laying there, and then I heard the voice. And then my cat Rudy heard the voice, and we both sat up at the same time, me and my cat Rudy. He was cuddling with me. And we both looked around, and I'm like, what the hell? Who's in here? So it was quiet. I looked at my husband. He was sleeping. And I'm like, there's nobody upstairs. There's nobody around. There's a snowstorm going on. It was peaceful. And I'm like, who's downloading what? So I laid back down. My cat laid back down. And I hear, sir, like he seemed shocked. And he said something like, subject heard me. How is that possible? Subject heard me. Subject's awake. How is that possible? Hearing, like, in other words, he was shocked that I heard him even while awake. And then another male voice said, abort, upload, abort, download, or, abort. And then I can hear the other guy saying, this is strange, this has never happened anymore. And he's like, just shut it down, the other voice. Don't say anything, shut it down. And me and my cat looked around, so with that, I'm like, that's it. I asked my husband, he's snoring, didn't wake up. I got out of bed, my cat Rudy got out of bed. I checked on my cat Salem, he was fine, he was sound asleep. I looked all around the room, I peeked out all the windows, making sure there was nobody around. Nobody was around, it was a snowstorm. I'm like, I don't know who or what that was to this day. Now, I don't have the feeling that it was anything nefarious. And I don't think it's that head to skull thing either. Like, oh, it was the bad guys, they were stalking you. No. This was something different. I got a feeling it was something different and not nefarious. But I never know, because every time I try to communicate and ask, I don't get any answers. And I tried to ask this one medium, but she had a YouTube, but it's like, and you have to pay little amounts, and then they either get to your question or they don't, but she never got to my question. So I gave up, I don't know who it was, what it was, why it was, or anything like that. So anyway, I just wanted to tell you that little bit, and I should be back with more paranormal and vlogs I should be back with more paranormal blogs come the fall, and I should have maybe that mud flood Tartaria video up soon, I'm hoping, within a couple of weeks. And if anything else happens, I'll have that. So stick around, because now I have those little clips of communication from the entities at my sister's house. So thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Remember to click the like button and share if you know anybody that's interested in paranormal vlogs. So please stick around and get ready to listen to some communication with spirits in other dimensions. Thanks for watching. See you in my videos. Bye. So now my first clip is, I didn't even get a chance to say anything. I just started and I hear them go coming down. So they say coming down. So let's see if you can hear it. And I think what they mean is they come down to our dimension so I can hear them. So did you hear it? It happened really fast. Remember, put your earbuds or your headphones on and turn the volume up. Now the next one, they ask, how is everybody doing there? How is everybody there? Or how is everybody doing there? Here it is. Okay, so did you hear that? So now my next one, I ask them, is there any place they can go to get away from the barking? And they say, we go to work. So they go to work. See if you can hear this. They say a little more, but here it is. Okay, and this one I asked them a question and they say, we already gave you the answer. So here it is. In this one I was talking to the spirits and a male spirit says, I would rather come by you. So somebody, a male voice, says they would rather come by me. Probably because it's quieter. So they say, I would rather come by you. I would rather come by you. It happened really fast, so remember to have your headphones. So in the next one, I asked them how long they've been here, like in the house or whatever. And they say a long time, and then it sounds like 1010, but I'm not sure. So they say a long time and then whatever it was after that. So here it is. How long have you been here? How long have you been here? How long have you been here? So in the next clip, I asked them, well, I'm talking about the dog. I know it's bothering you. I heard you yell enough. But they said, we're your friends, though, letting us know that they're friends, even though they yelled at the dog. Now this one is the best. It came out the clearest because I was saying about the barking, and then they say we were talking to the dog, but he wouldn't shut up. So they tried to get him to shut up, but he wasn't having it. So here it is. So here we were talking and discussing about the dogs, and they said, what can we do? So here it is. Okay, so in the next clip, it was inaudible. The next clip, I'm not really sure. I asked them a question and that I didn't understand what they said. So maybe you can hear it. Here it is. This is my last clip. So I will end it right after that clip. Do you have any messages for anybody? Do you have any messages for anybody? Do you have any messages for anybody? That's it. I hope you're able to hear it, and I'll see you in my next video. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Bye.